little less conversation, a little more action. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. A little more pain, a little less fun, a little less time, a little more fun. Oh, you're not gonna click your heart, and maybe it's happy.
That, of course, would be Elvis Presley. Some people believe he was the greatest cultural influence of the second half of the 20th century, and he may very well be. You could talk about Sputnik, you could talk about the move into space, you could talk about the shutdown of the Cold War, you could talk about the effects of the war in Vietnam, you could talk about civil rights in this country and how far we have come as opposed to all the ways we are failing everybody out there. Let me just make a comment. You don't have to apologize for being a white, conservative, straight person, okay? You do not have to feel like you're weird because you're a member of the United Kingdom and you voted to leave the European Union and leave the fat cat money people and the people that want to destroy the sovereignty of your nation, just like a lot of people want to destroy the sovereignty of ours, including one of them who's running for president for about the 20th time in her miserable life. Welcome to the show. My name's Clint Bellows. This is The Answer, 94.5, 1420 AM, Omaha's Conservative Talk. TheAnswerOmaha.com, TheClintBellowsShow.com. And we're on Facebook and Twitter. We're in SoundCloud at SoundCloud.com. Search for The Clint Bellows Show. Pick us up live on YouTube. We're here every day, 4 to 6. Great to be with you. And I have my University of Arizona Wildcat baseball cap on today because my Wildcats surprised me a little bit. They have fought back through the losers round and at the College World Series, which as always has been an amazing event in downtown Omaha this year, and got back into the winners bracket. They took out the Oklahoma State Cowboys a couple of times, no small feat. But they're going to be up against I think, kind of the emotional, sentimental favorite of a lot of the fans, that great squad from Coastal Carolina. And so we play 2 out of 3 for the national title tonight, tomorrow night, and if necessary, Wednesday night. And good luck finding a parking place down there. The swim trials are also going on, as you know, and that's another real feather in the cap of David Brown and our city government, everybody that's come together to do all the great things downtown that have been accomplished there in the last 15 years or so. Built quite a complex downtown. I was talking with our chief engineer, Jim, here just a few minutes ago, and he and I remember going all the way back to the old Rosenblatt Stadium days, all the way back when I first went out there as a little tiny kid with my dad and my brother, and I saw the University of Arizona Wildcat team in the early 1960s lose to USC, which we always refer to in Omaha as University of Southern Cal. Of course, nobody in Southern California refers to it that way, but that's what it's referred to here. But, of course, that College World Series has been an amazing event for this city. I think it's the only college championship Division I sports event which is held in the same place each year. And the city had to pay dearly, obviously, to build that ballpark and to maintain the event. And, that's been a subject of some controversy. But I think you have to say, when you look at what's happened with the importance of the event and just what a big midsummer deal that has become, along with the swim trials, and who knows if we'll get those back in 4 years or not, but they've certainly been a fixture here the last few years. A lot of great things happening down there in the downtown Omaha area, and a lot more I'm sure we'll continue to. So welcome to the show. And it's good to be able to look at some positive things and have them coming out of Omaha, Nebraska. It's been an interesting last few days. I think you'd have to admit, if you're a conservative, if you're looking at the whole political picture out there in the country right now, you've got to look at what happened on Thursday and Friday in Great Britain, the United Kingdom. We talked extensively with some very excellent people, 2 or 3 of them on Friday with some great takes. We'll be talking about it today again. In a few minutes, we're going to have Mark Christian here, who comments on matters related to the politics of Islam. We usually have him on Monday afternoons for a few minutes. He, of course, is the director and the founder of the Global Faith Institute here in Omaha, Nebraska. And he's a guy that, born in Cairo as a Muslim, grew up in a Muslim family, became a born-again Christian, has come to this country, and he's had great impact on a lot of things. We're going to be visiting with him about the immigration aspect of this, which I happen to believe drove that bus in Great Britain. And I think there may be some carryover to the American political presidential race this year. As you know, just by coincidence or whatever, Donald Trump happened to be over in Scotland. He was making some kind of an appearance at one of the golf course properties that he has over there, and his kids were with him, and he commented at some length about the fact that he believes this immigration issue is key. I agree with him. We're going to be talking very critically with Mark Christian about that. Then a little later in the show, during the intersection of faith and reason half hour, which we always have on from 5 to 5:30, and that's where we're joined by our 660 AM KCRO Teach and Talk Network listeners. Hopefully they find their way to us. And we try to figure out a way to kind of connect the dots to integrate, your spiritual and your public policy and your worldview together, and to make some sense of that and to figure out how God enters into that, because God is not only in the big stuff, he's in the details of our everyday lives on a day-to-day basis. And I need to remind myself of that, ye of little faith. Sometimes they say a mustard seed of faith is all you need, and believe me, in my case, most of the time that's all I've got. I'm ashamed to be able to have to tell you. But it was an interesting week in politics. There was not the global meltdown in the stock markets that everybody predicted. There were some hits. I think the market was off, and of course it's easy for me to comment on the relative value or devalue of somebody's portfolio when I'm not the one with my name on it. I'll give you that proviso and that admission. But on a stock market cruising at 17 to 18,000 points in the Dow for no apparent reason to me, certainly isn't based on value of shares. For this thing to be off 4% based on what happened there is we've had bigger jolts for a lot less reasons than that. And it'll be an interesting process, because what's also happened, as you know, is there are a bunch of sore losers in the Great Isles. We've got the United Kingdom as a whole, which of course is made up of Great Britain, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, right? Well, Great Britain and Wales overwhelmingly went for leaving the European community. And by overwhelming, I think it was over 4 points something, which is a pretty big deal in any election today, that kind of a swing. The Scots have never been able to figure out in recent history if they even want to be involved in the United Kingdom anymore. You may recall they had a secessionist movement a couple of years ago over there, which failed. They wanted out. They wanted their own independent Scotland. And we know, and I'm sure you do, what the history of Ireland and Northern Ireland with the British Isles is, and been, just the whole history of violence and religious confusion and misunderstanding over there. So although they are the United Kingdom, in many ways, they're not very united, quite candidly. And so what you have now is you have a lot of people calling for another vote, or they want to recount or whatever. I don't know. It's easy for a radio commentator, anybody with an opinion, to spout off about what they ought to do. But if they're not going to live with the results of the referendum, why did they bother to have it to begin with? I think the referendum will hold in Great Britain. I think it clearly will hold in Wales. I don't know what Ireland will do. And I got a feeling that maybe Scotland will go ahead and they'll try to play out this secessionist game again. As far as I'm concerned, go ahead and do it, folks. I know that there are international treaties and conditions that are affected by what Scotland does or doesn't do. You've got a whole bunch of offshore drilling regulations and restrictions being placed on the Brits by people who live on the continent. You've got a bunch of fishing treaties and other maritime relationships that are also very important there. So these things have consequences. I'd like to know what you think. The number is 402-498-5685, 402-498-5685. That's 402-498-KOTK. Send me an email at theansweromaha.com. Reach out. We are delighted, my good pal Braden Larson and I, to take your calls and want to talk to you, and it should be a great show today. We're going to get back, and we're going to talk about what happened with the polls in American politics over the weekend, and maybe we can find another crying towel for Barack Obama, since he's hurt by the fact that people have kind of hit him in the nose twice last week, once in the Supreme Court and once with this Brexit move. But he's still never figured out that the game's not about him. It's actually about other people. Well, mark of a well-matured, integrated personality for a guy who's president of the United States. Whew. Anyway, the time's 4:16. Place is the Clint Bellows Show on The Answer, Omaha's Conservative Talk, and we'll be back in a moment.
Michael Medved explains to liberals the way taxes work.
By drug testing those with itemized deductions over $150,000, this bill will level the playing field for drug testing people who are recipients of social programs. One of the core differences between the left and the right in this country is people on the right tend to understand that when you talk about money that people are earning, that money is their money. It doesn't belong to the government.
The Michael Medved Show, afternoons at 2 on 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Now that you know there's a new talk station in town, we wanted to introduce you to the new lineup. Hugh Hewitt starts the day with the most newsworthy morning show on radio, 5 to 8 a.m. Mike Gallagher grabs the headlines, 8 to 11 a.m. Dennis Prager is the smartest guy on the radio, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Michael Medved puts it all together, 2 to 4 p.m. And Omaha's own Clint Bellows takes you home, 4 to 6 p.m. Larry Elder takes it at 6. The strongest lineup in Omaha's Conservative Talk, 94.5 FM. 1420 AM. The Answer. Dennis Prager believes the GOP is missing a huge opportunity.
That has been the great failure of the Republican Party, not to talk about the damage the left does. They talk about individuals. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, doesn't mean a thing. If you support the left, you are supporting the damaging, perhaps irreparably, of the society. I know you mean well, and it doesn't matter.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Michael Medved at 2 on FM 94.5 AM 1420. The Answer. Omaha has started to get noticed. People now list us as the best place to live in America. The best schools, the lowest cost of living, the best house for the money, and the best neighborhoods. All found right here. From West Omaha to Millard to Regency and to Dundee. Take a look around. You might actually wind up living next door to Warren Buffett. He loves it here too. That's why we started this radio station. We knew you would need us. Omaha's Conservative Talk. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
It's been called the greatest libertarian show on earth, attended by Donald Trump, Steve Forbes, Glenn Beck, and the most brilliant conservative minds today. It's Freedom Fest, July 13th through the 16th at the Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. This year, come hear Senator Rand Paul, author George Gilder, Judge Andrew Napolitano, and more. And don't miss your chance to win $25,000 in prizes organized by Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington. Register now at freedomfest.com and save $100 by using the code SALEM, all caps, at freedomfest.com.
The Clint Bellows Show. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
I hear people talking bad about the way we have to live here in this country. Harping on the wars we fight and griping about the way things ought to be. And I don't mind them switching sides and standing up for things they believe in. When they're running down my country, man, they're walking on the fighting side of me. Yeah, walking on the fighting side of me. Running down the way line, I'm fighting and fought and died to keep. If you don't love it, leave it. Let this song I'm singing be a warning. You're running down my country, man. You walking.
Welcome back, folks.
Me.
Clint Bellows here. You just heard our great lineup we have on every day. Awful lot of talent on this squad. 27 Yankees, Bronx Bombers, Omaha Killers. Got to say that, it's been interesting listening, and I sometimes get up and I kind of go through what I'm doing around the house, or on the rare occasion where I actually work out, and I'll listen to some of our talent coming into 4 o'clock. And the only guy I really ever break with a lot is the guy that comes on right before me, and I've always respected this guy, but some of the things he says on this election, it's so short-sighted, Michael, so destructive. You've got a national bazooka that you can use to go out and spray damage on Donald Trump, and you never miss a beat in your process of doing that on a day-to-day basis. You don't seem to understand that you're guaranteeing the White House to Hillary Clinton for 4 to 8 more years, and I hope your conscience is clear, because the results of that will be disastrous, Michael, to most of the things that you hold true. One of the things he says in a commentary today was that if Donald Trump wanted to revive his faltering campaign, he should make a bold move and offer the vice presidential nomination to Paul Ryan, even with the understanding that the House Speaker probably won't accept it. The gesture of honoring Ryan in this way makes it clear that Trump wants to cooperate with his party's most important leaders for now, on rather than constantly confronting them. If Ryan respectfully declines, he could choose another figure to mainstream his candidacy. Governors like Susana Martinez of New Mexico, who I've liked for a long time, Brian Sandoval of Nevada, which won't do him any good, Nikki Haley, who has been out, and John Kasich of Ohio, of course, had a lot of things to say about Donald Trump during the campaign. Michael Medved goes on to say, reports say Chris Christie and Newt Gingrich top current lists of potential running mates, with these two failed presidential candidates bring an abrasive style and histories of scandal that mirror Trump's own. Polls show some 40% of Republicans still want another candidate for president, but a reassuring Veep choice before the convention would help purify the party. I'll bet you that if you look, Mike, you can look back, do your research. I don't think it'll be very hard for you. You will be able to look back. There was a guy running against Hillary Clinton by the name of Bernie Sanders. Do you remember him? He's a guy that was in the Congress and the Senate from Vermont for 27 years with virtually no achievement of any kind. Nobody ever heard of the guy. Yet he went out and ran a primary campaign against Hillary Clinton where he beat her in more primaries than she beat him. And the only reason she's got the nomination is because of the fact they've trumped up and fixed the process with this superdelegate game they play. So if you want to make the comment that 40% of Republicans don't want Trump as president, I think you can easily make the comment that at least 40% of Democrats don't want Hillary Clinton as president. And if you can add a whole bunch of us who think she is a disaster on every level, I think that moots your arguments pretty well. As far as giving the nomination or the nod to Paul Ryan, there is absolutely no way, Michael Medved, you understand politics. If you don't understand, you do not reward people who try to kill you, okay? You do not send out the message. It's okay for you to withhold endorsing me. It's okay for you to say whatever you want. It's okay for you to continue to be lukewarm toward me. And now I'm going to offer you the VP, which you'll undoubtedly turn down, and which, by the way, why would I do that? Since when you ran with Mitt Romney 4 years ago, you couldn't even carry your home state of Wisconsin, Representative Ryan. So, yeah, that's a great idea, Michael Medved. Nikki Haley has come out very strongly against Donald Trump. She has sexual affair scandal problems in her state of South Carolina. Did you know that, Michael Medved? If she were the nominee, that would be one of the first things the Hillary group would pull out. Susana Martinez, I like her. Kasich, I thought Kasich should have done himself a favor during the campaign and maybe did what he said he was going to do, which is actually stick to talking about the issues. Instead, as the campaign went on and he got more desperate to become relevant, I mean, he barely beat Trump in his home state of Ohio, which was the only primary that John Kasich won out of 32, just to put it in the proper perspective for you, Mr. Medved. The bottom line, John Kasich had so many nasty things to say about Donald Trump. why in the world would he pick John Kasich? If he's going to pick somebody from Ohio, which I happen to think is an excellent idea, you got to pick John Portman, who is a senator from Ohio, conservative, a good guy, very bright, very capable, good on the budget, good on the law, good on everything. And that would be an excellent choice. And by the way, that's going to be a critical piece of this, folks, because it's pretty clear to me, I don't know if you watch these Sunday shows or not, they need to carry Virginia. Virginia is a key swing state. Virginia has become a purple state. It is very blue in the northeastern corner of it, where you have Washington, D.C. and the surrounding mess that we call our nation's capital. That has gone almost entirely blue. If you go down around Richmond, you go to the rest of the rural part of that state, you'll find it's a very conservative, former Confederate, strong family values, very Christian state. And so it's a toss-up. There was a governor who barely won election there a few years ago, beat a Republican who was a good guy, and his name is Tim Kaine. He's been a prominent U.S. senator now for about 6 or 7 years from Virginia. And my guess is, folks, Tim Kaine, and who knows, it could be anybody, I can't think of a more strategic pick for Hillary Clinton to put on the ticket than Tim Kaine. A lot of people think she's going to put a woman on the ticket, or she'll put Elizabeth Warren. Okay, I don't know. But the bottom line on it is that she will make an astute pick. Say what you want about the Clintons. They don't make many tactical errors in these things, and she won't make one on her vice presidential pick. So then we get back to who should Trump pick, okay? Everybody, including Michael Medved, want to turn Trump into something Trump's not. He managed to win 32 primaries playing it the way he is. Everybody says, well, those things don't count in the general election. I say they do count. I say that the people, that the 11, 12 million people who, by the way, are more than voted for Mitt Romney, they're more than voted for John McCain, they're more than voted for Bob Dole or George W. Bush or even Ronald Reagan, okay? Donald Trump did a pretty good job of getting votes in the primaries. Of course, the press and the libs have got to criticize you if you voted for Donald Trump. I've been criticized for supporting him. How can anybody support Donald Trump? Well, I supported Brad Ashford 2 years ago. I guess I can support anybody, okay? Truth of the matter is, a lot of people like what Donald Trump's saying, okay? A lot of people are tired of having things pushed in their face. It's pretty clear, don't you think, that the people of Great Britain were pretty tired? And that if you look at the numbers on why they voted the way they did, they wanted to take control of their own lives again. That was number one in terms of the reasons they drove away from the European community. And they gave it a 23-year trial. This wasn't something they just decided to do. It wasn't some quirk or some pick of anger or some other immature response to something. They've been thinking about this for a long time, okay? And the other piece of it is, there's 6 million people living in Great Britain today that weren't there probably the last time I was there, which wasn't all that long ago, okay, that shouldn't be there, okay, that didn't come in legally, that were just passed in with these open borders of the EU. And now you've got major cultural problems. You have more mosques in the city of London than you have churches. You have the specter of British soldiers being murdered in the streets in broad daylight by Muslim hoods, including one young man who was beheaded on a London street in the middle of the day. Any of that sound like something that would affect you? Okay. So that's where we're at. And then, I get a little bit myself. I was just sitting there watching these things yesterday, and I'm supposed to be on this diet where I'm not drinking anything. I was sorely pressed, I have to say. It was kind of a situation for me where, I'm sitting there going, is there going to be a parallel to this? And then Obama comes out, and he opens his mouth, and more just nothing falls out. And, of course, we know what kind of a job he's done. So one of the great things about this show is I get a lot of mail, email, people send me things. A good friend of the show brought in a driver. I'm going to try to see if I can hit it anywhere. A good friend Tom from the Great Store, he's got me a $300 driver for $5. He didn't even charge me $5. So, you know, I mean, I've had great people out there. You just the finest listeners in the country, and I'm blessed by all of this. One of them is a good friend of mine, is a former big-time agricultural commodities executive around the world based here, and he sends me one. It's an email today. It says, "What are my choices? But we must vote." He says, "The folks speaking out against Trump are helping me make up my mind a little more every day. Is he the perfect candidate for those whose thoughts mirror mine on all fronts? Nope. Does he say everything the way I wish he would say it? Nope. Am I absolutely sure that his motives are absolutely pure? Nope. Can I point to any Dem politician that I like better? Nope. Am I going to sit home, refuse to vote, and let Hillary Clinton win because Trump's not perfect? Nope. Do I like what I've seen the last 7.5 years with the so-called president that sleeps in our White House? Nope. Do I like the fundamental changes that brought America, that this man has brought America, my America? Nope. Okay, you turn to decide what you're going to do in about 4 months. Here's Trump's presidential qualifications according to this Omaha businessman. 1, Obama's against Trump. Check. 2, the media are against Trump. Check. The establishment Democrats are against Trump. Check. The establishment Republicans are against Trump. Check. The Pope is against Trump. Check. The UN is against Trump. Check. The EU is against Trump. Check. China is against Trump. Check. Mexico is against Trump. Check. George Soros is against Trump. Check. Black Lives Matter is against Trump. Check. MoveOn.com is against Trump. Check. The Koch brothers are against Trump. Check. The Bushes are against Trump. Check. Planned Parenthood is against Trump. Check. Hillary and Bernie are both against Trump. Check. Illegal aliens are against Trump. Check. Islam is against Trump. Check. Kasich is against Trump. Check. Hateful, racist, violent liberals are against Trump. Check. That now being said, it seems to me Trump must be the best qualified candidate we could ever have. If you have so many political insiders and left-wing nutcases all scared to death that they all speak out against one man at the same time, most of all, it would be the people's choice. After all, he's not a lifetime politician, check. He's not a lawyer, check. Not doing it for the money, check. Natural-born citizen in the U.S. from American parents. Bonus points. Whoopi says she'll leave the country. Rosie says she'll leave the country. Sharpton says he'll leave the country. Cher says she'll leave the country. Cyrus says she'll leave the country. The Constitution, Bill of Rights will prevail. Hillary may go to jail. Americans will have their first choice of jobs again. You will be able to keep your guns if you qualify. In other words, if you're not a crazy or criminal. Only living registered U.S. citizens can vote. You must show ID to vote. You can have and keep your own doctor. You can say whatever you want without being called a racist, Islamophobic, xenophobic, etc. We will have a new Supreme Court judge to interpret the Constitution, not make the law. He will make America great again. Come to think of it, we have no place to go but up. Remember this in November. Pass it on, and God bless America. I don't know. Ever put better than that? Got to go to a break. Time's 4:35. We're going to be joined in just a couple of minutes by Dr. Mark Christian. Should be an interesting conversation. Stay with us.
Del Walmsley explains what happens when the government gets involved in your money.
Cycles have normal restrictions upon them. And if it was a pure and open marketplace, you could count on cycles to keep us going in the right direction in a safe zone forever. But my friends, when the government gets in and gerrymanders the world, cycles are not pure.
The Del Walmsley Radio Show, weekday mornings at 10 on FM 94.5, AM 1420. The Answer. In Nebraska, we brag about being a red state. We have a balanced budget amendment, and we follow it. We have a unicameral. We get more done more efficiently. Even the color of our football team is red. Yeah, we get it. You found Omaha's conservative talk radio station. The Answer. The dark red in a red state. We call it the good life, and people on the coasts make fun of us. Yeah, may they not know what we know. Let's keep it that way. And keep listening to Omaha's Conservative Talk. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Folks from around the country don't get Omaha. They think we're the town Peyton Manning made famous. Omaha! Yeah, truth is, we kind of like being anonymous. That way the rest of the country can leave us alone and let us thrive. It's not just the low cost of living we love, low cost of housing. The fact that you can get anywhere in 20 minutes. What we really love are the people, the best neighborhoods, the best families are all right here. And this station gets all that. This is Omaha's Conservative Talk, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
Happy Independence Day, America. Did you know it's the 240th birthday of our country's independence? Let's celebrate with a bang. Support your local Christian radio station's favorite fireworks stands. Get your fireworks from these fantastic fireworks stands. Assure Women's Center at Walmart in Irvington, Cross Training Center at 72nd and L by Menards, Essential Pregnancy Services at 108th and Q in Roxbury, and the Hope Center at 144th and Center at Bag and Save. And God bless America.
If you've ever wanted to see for yourself the sights of the early Christian church, here is an exciting trip. This is Alistair Begg inviting you to join me this fall on the Footsteps of the Apostles Mediterranean Cruise. Beautiful accommodations and an opportunity to encounter together the sights of the early church. Stops in Rome, Jerusalem, Athens, and so much more. Plan on joining us.
For more information or to reserve your cabin, visit theansweromaha.com.
The Clint Bellows Show, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
I guess I should know by the way you parked your car sideways that it wouldn't last. So you're the kind of person who believes in making out once, love them and leave fast. Guess I must be done. She had a pocket full of horses, Trojan and some of the mules. But it was Saturday night. I guess that makes it alright. You see, what have I got to lose? Money, I say, we ain't a red carpet. Baby, you're much too fast. We ain't a red carpet. You need a love that's gonna last. Guess I should close my eyes when you drove me to the place where your horses run free. I felt a little ill when I saw all the pictures of the jockeys that were there before me. Believe it or not, I started to worry, wondered if I had enough class. But it was Saturday night, I guess that makes it alright. You say, baby, I ain't got enough gas. Oh yeah, little red Corvette. Baby, your mind's too fast.
Welcome back to the show, folks. We'll give you a little bit more of Little Red Corvette than you probably needed to hear, but I'm delighted you were able to join us. That was my a guy I really I liked his personality and I liked his music, and that was the late Prince. And Little Red Corvette. Good friend of mine has a brother who is a Corvette collector and has a white Corvette and a red Corvette. And I'll tell you what, I mean, we like Porsche, we like all the great European sports cars, but nothing like a Corvette to really just to express something that I think we ought to start getting a little bit prouder of and expressing a little bit more, and that is the sovereignty and the greatness of this country. And it's not, when you say exceptionalism, it's not that we're talking about how hot we all are and how much smarter we are than anybody else in the world, but it's about what the country was based upon. Thank you. And, you know, there's a fellow by the name of Eric Metaxas who is on KCRO AM, and he writes, and he's out of New York, and I happened to catch something he did on C-SPAN yesterday in my very active social life, and he was talking about the fact we don't even teach American kids our history anymore. We don't teach them the great things this country has done to save the world and promote freedom and economic opportunity and just a chance in life all over this planet. In fact, if you're Braden's age, or even if you're 40 years old, you've probably never heard any of this stuff. Okay, they teach you that in school, Braden? A little bit, he says. He's been gone to some pretty good schools here. But for the most part, we don't brag about our exceptionalism. We don't even bring it up. We're almost kind of, with guys like Obama out there, he's ashamed of it. This is a man with a very distorted, maligned childhood that informs his worldview. He's an accident of history. I don't care where he was born. He might have been born in Philadelphia for all I care. That doesn't make him an American, okay? Mark Christian was born in Cairo, and he's an American across the line in spades. 5-star version. Mark, we found you in the world of electrophonics out there. We lost you for a minute.
I'm right here. Thank you very much for having me in.
Well, thanks for being on. I don't know what happened. We got disconnected there, so I played a little bit more Little Red Corvette. Mark comments from his position as founder and executive director of the Global Faith Institute, which is based in Omaha, Nebraska, but does in fact have really worldwide reach. Mark, let's talk a little bit about your take on what factor you think immigration and the whole Muslim issue may have played with the Brits on this Brexit decision that was made on Thursday.
Very big role, actually. Immigration is one of the key things that played, the reason for this separation that is about to take place. We don't know exactly if they're gonna follow through or not, because you see Ireland and see Scotland as they want to stay with the European Union and all the kind of. It's a big dilemma. It's a big change, and I see the changes coming to America as well, not by separation, but by a big change in the election and what's going to take place, in November. But let me highlight something. In July 2nd, which is this coming Saturday, there is a huge big rally that is going to be taking place over here in Omaha, Nebraska. We're going to have, many of the leaders, political leaders in the state of Nebraska will be talking about different issues, and I'm going to be addressing myself the immigration, problem in the state of Nebraska and the United States of America. And the governor is going to be there, and Don Bacon is going to be there. We're going to have, many big names is going to be speaking that day. I think I encourage everybody, if they don't have anything going on, and better not to have anything going on during that rally, because it's a very important event, and I wish to see everybody over there.
Well, give us the exact coordinates again, what time and where you're going to be, Mark. We'll do that again if you would, just so we don't miss that.
It is July 2nd, and it is going to be from 1 o'clock to 4 p.m. It is at that park by Millard South. I can't remember the exact name of the park, but all the information is going to be on our website, and we're going to send an email out, so you can check it out. It's going to be a very important event.
Well, certainly it sounds like the right group of people there, you being prominent among them. So that's July 2nd, 1 to 4, and we'll go to the website and identify the name of that park. I don't remember the name of it right off the top of my brain either, but I'm sure we can find that. Back to the subject at hand for a moment. When they interviewed people on the exits and they talked to people, particularly in Great Britain, they were very concerned about safety issues. That was one of their chief concerns. The other was just the fact that they wanted to take control of their own lives and their own government again, and they felt that they were being blown out by these European bureaucrats and Bilderbergers and hidden money interests, primarily out of Brussels. You might make the analogy, Mark, that we have a similar group of thugs in Washington, D.C.
There is a group of people that are trying to make a globalist movement and a new world order and all that kind of stuff. And mainly, in England, again, I want to try to bring some of my personal experience. I lived in England in 1998, 1999, and 2000. And during those years, I have seen firsthand the effects of the immigration going on into the United Kingdom, and basically from people who are thugs, to be honest with you, coming out of Afghanistan and from Albania and from other places where most of them are terrorists. And most of those people actually have been kicked out of their own countries or not welcome to go back to their own countries in the Middle East. And instead of going back, and they went to England and opened their doors for them. England opened the doors for them, and they suffered from that big time.
Yeah.
And they made big changes and big decisions about this. So they actually already suffered from it, and they know the consequences because it took place in their country. Now, when the European Union is forcing the same laws into the British and into England, they know what it has to come. So this is why they make the decision early on. Say, you know what? If you are not going to let us make our own decisions, then we're out. And this is exactly what took place. People know, people had the sufferings, and people understand what took place before, and they don't want to see it again. They have enough of it. And I think we have the same kind of people over here in America right now, that they're trying to push the laws and they push the decisions that they make onto the American people. And then whoever opens his mouth, Clint, they label him as a bigot or a racist or a xenophobic or whatever the labels that they give to people. You know, I don't need any of those labels. I'm just concerned. I would love to welcome the people in need, and I don't want to welcome anybody who wants to kill me and stab me in the back. I don't think that has any other name other than being smart.
I think you're absolutely right. We're on KOTK with Dr. Mark Christian. The number's 498-KOTK. We've got Larry on the line. Larry, you have an observation or a question for Dr. Christian?
Well, yes. First of all, I do have the name of that park. It's called Walnut Creek Park.
Walnut Creek Park.
Yes.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. I missed him at the last breakfast. And I'm going to be there. And I do not understand why nobody will talk about the Convention of States. We've either got to enforce the 10th Amendment or the Convention of States, or this country is done for. And I hope they bring it up. If they don't, I may have a poster with me talking about it, and I will be shaking hands and asking them why the hell they are to talk about it.
Well, you know, if you don't mind my jumping in here, then I'll get Mark's take on this. You and I have talked about this, Larry, for a long time. I know a number of patriotic, involved citizens like you who are all trying to coordinate efforts to accomplish that objective. Talk about David and Goliath. That's a biblical story you're dealing with here. We have built this sprawling monster that now cannot obey. Okay, that's what it really amounts to. And you know, just to get, I'll tell you what, I think when you come out and you make the comments you make publicly, and you even talk about these kinds of issues, which are constitutionally guaranteed, by the way, which is one of the reasons why the Second Amendment is so important and process is so important. You've got people that probably don't want you around. This is not necessarily a safe thing to even do anymore. You know,
I think you're right.
You know, it's you know, we talk on the radio, and it's still a free country, quote unquote, but freedom of speech is being dramatically limited on a progressive basis by people that call themselves progressives. And so, you know, when you get into this presidential campaign, if it's not a political issue that will work for Trump or Clinton, I don't think you're going to see much talk about it, Larry. What do you think, Mark?
Well, I want to point out to a conversation that I heard lately on CNN between between Don Lemon and Ben Carson. And Ben Carson was trying to talk about the Second Amendment, and Don Lemon, who is a liberal, homosexual, openly homosexual, and he's a big anchor on CNN, has his own show, and he was making fun of Dr. Carson about the Second Amendment. He says, you know what, we are living in a time right now that the government has the huge big power in its own hands. So thinking that the Second Amendment will protect the liberty of the people is kind of insane. And when this is exactly why the left don't understand that it is not a nuclear weapon that is in the hands of the government, or the government is supposed to be stronger than the people so they can push their tyranny on the people. This is what the left is looking at. He thinks since the government has the major power in their own hand at this point in time, then we should deny the American citizens their Second Amendment because it is useless and helpless, and it is naive to think that we can defend ourselves. And guess what? He's missing the whole point. The American people has the right, and they can defend themselves. And if we can start submitting to the government, thinking that they are more powerful than the people because they have more firepower and more power on the people, this is the exact definition and the beginning of tyranny.
Larry, where do you? And I appreciate Mark's comment. I agree completely with what he just said. I guess when you look at the tangible aspects, the things that are trackable, that can be you can connect the dots. You can say, hey, we're making progress. How does this Convention of the States movement really get off the ground? You need X number of states and referendums or votes of the state legislatures, don't you, in order to create this national convention that would then go about changing what? I mean, there's an awful lot of questions that aren't completely clear to a lot of people.
That's entirely correct. And that's why you have to get these people out here at this July 2nd thing, which may be the last free rally, to talk about it, because they will not talk about it. They've refused to talk about it. They killed the bill. The governor even won't talk about it, and he should be leading, as well as Bill Kittner and the others. But I'm 73 years old. I went to a religious freedom conference at one of the major churches. I took it to my church, and I was called one of those haters, one of those preachers of hate speech, and I've had it. At 73, I didn't serve. This is the last thing for me to do. So I will keep speaking about it. And if we can't do anything with the Second Amendment or the 10th Amendment, we've got no other recourse short of revolution.
I think I agree that we are living in a very defining moment in American history. You know, and America has passed through kinds of moments like this before and prevailed. And I think America will prevail as well. I'm very optimistic, and I trust America, and I trust that God's hand is on this nation, even though, you know, big chunk of people in America right now are turning away from God. But God is going to always, and we're going to continue praying that God will bless this nation. But I agree.
I agree with that.
Come up. Yes, we need to continue praying for this nation. God can save us with only one faithful servant, and I think we have more than one in this great nation. The rally on the July 2nd is a very crucial one for the state of Nebraska, I believe. I believe that, you know, I think the governor, Pete Ricketts, is going to be there. The mayor, Gene Stutter, is going to be there. Don Bacon, who's running for the Senate, for the House, is going to be there. Doug Peterson is going to be there. So it's very important to come to listen and to ask the questions, because there's going to be panels and there's going to be questions and going to be answers from the people who knows and people who control things.
Larry,
I agree with that.
You know, I'm looking. A friend of mine, I get these various things. A friend of mine sends me a text just today, and so it shows a picture of a guy praying very fervently on his knees with his hands folded in front. He says, "Hi, Lord, it's me again. I'm getting older and things are getting bad here. Lord, I'm asking you to come back and re-bless America. This country needs you. There are more of us who want you than those of us who don't. Thank you, Lord. I love you." And I think if I had to say that,
and then,
the highlight of this show might be what we just heard there.
Absolutely.
And you know, really, I was just talking to my son, and I talk from time to time, and different friends call from around the United States on Sundays, and I had just listened to all these talk shows, and I got to tell you, I mean, I feel like I'm living in a parallel universe sometimes, guys. It's the things
shadow government.
Yeah, really, the things that get said, and you know, I mean, there's very little truth in any of it. I don't think Pete Ricketts or some of the other people you mentioned are bad people. I think Pete tries to do a good job. It's a difficult one, but the truth of the matter is, conservatism, we talk about it, and there are a lot of people writing great books, and you can find some commentators, and there's still what is said there, I still believe is true. I still believe there's this silent majority that we first heard about 45 years ago of people who still want this country to be what it has been, want to respect the exceptionalism of it. We don't hate, but we don't think you ought to be able to walk in here and just take up shop and create your own little country within a country just because Barack Obama wants open borders. And we feel that we have the right to push back against this clown and the 7.5 years of illegality that he has thrust on us. And that's what Donald Trump is talking about. He's not doing a very good job in a lot of respects of presenting his case effectively. But the reason he's got the people behind him that he's got is because there's an awful lot of people out there who are awful worried about this country. That's my take. What do you guys think?
Amen. And I believe in loving and caring and forgiving and blessing God. And Jesus Christ will stand up with this nation when we stand up with Him. And we need to continue praying. We need to fight the good fight, and we need to stop, being compromising, and stop being negative, and stop being afraid to be labeled anything, because we need to voice our opinion, make our case, stand up for what we believe in, and to show that we are not haters, we are not bigots, we are not racist. We are just standing with the truth. I would love to have refugees, and I would love them to have them in my home, but I would love to have those who are willing to be helped and not to be killing me as soon as they get whatever they need.
And that's not going to happen. That's not what they want. That's not their MO. You know that, Mark, and I know that. And the truth of the matter is they have no interest in becoming assimilated Americans. That's not why they're coming here.
And they're not getting the message in Washington.
They're not, this is not the Irish or the German. The Hispanic people come here, and you know what? There's issues about that too. But I've dealt with Hispanic people for many years in my development business in California and the Southwest. Hardworking, God-fearing, largely Catholic families. They're not perfect. I'm not perfect, but at least they have the motivation to join the team and, for the most part, to become part of the American plan. We need to figure out what we're going to do with them. But as to bringing, this whole thing goes back really to George W. Bush and then to this current bonehead in the White House. And it goes back to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people out of the Middle East caused by Bush's reckless move into Iraq and then the aftermath with Barack Obama. I've been in Europe in the last couple of years. I'm telling you, folks, it's a disaster over there. Nothing short of it.
This rally on the 2nd is maybe our last chance to make a difference. And if the politicians that are out there don't hear us on July 2nd, they're never going to hear us.
Well, I hope that's
they're
not the
the ones
case,
that are not doing their job.
Well, Larry, and you are, and you're in the fast reading group. It's almost like one of the frustrations that even I, and this is a business I'm in, and I know Mark does yeoman service and spends much of his time. He could be making a lot more money in the medical business, being a medical doctor, which is his chosen profession.
Not at my age. But thank you. I'll hang up and let you finish.
All right, Larry. Well, anyway, Mark, thank you for your call, Larry. And Larry is this is the frustration I have. You've got a lot of great people in this country that just want to see the country be what it is. It's worked pretty well for the better part of 233 years until we brought this latest scourge into it's a plague on our house. And it's in so many areas, Mark. There's 25 or 30 areas where there have just been little brush fires planted, and they're now, most of them are all burning out of control. And it's going to be very hard to bring it back. And
I think, if you don't mind, there is people, lots of people they think that they are on the left, because they think that they are looking for more idealistic life and more helping and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think there is many leaders on the left are taking advantage of the people who think that they are liberals and feeding them wrong ideas and trying to separate them from the rest of the community and so forth.
I think it's
so
great,
there is
great
lots of great Americans out there that has been taken advantage of by the liberal leaders, thinking that they are standing and speaking for them while they are not.
Mark, July 2nd, 1 to 4 at Walnut Creek Park out by Millard South High School. You, the governor, and a bunch of other important people are going to be there talking. We'll look forward to that.
Thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Thank you, Dr. Mark Christian. The time is 4:59. The place is Clint Bellows Show at the Answer. We'll be back at the intersection of faith and reason. We return at 5 o'clock in just a moment.
94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Translator, 94.5 K233CO, Omaha. And 1420 KOTK, Omaha. The Answer.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. Stocks took another hit today in the aftermath of the British referendum to exit the European Union. The Dow was down by 261 points. British Prime Minister David Cameron is reassuring people, saying the economy faces pressures, but Britain is in good economic shape and can take the strain.
It's clear that markets are volatile. There are some companies considering their investments, and we know this is going to be far from plain sailing. However, we should take confidence from the fact that Britain is ready to confront what the future holds for us from a position of strength.
He says an EU exit will be far from plain sailing for Britain's economy, but adds that UK financial institutions have robust plans and can withstand the uncertainty of a Brexit, a British exit from the bloc. A big ruling from the Supreme Court on abortion today, throwing out regulations requiring doctors who perform abortions to have admitting privileges at nearby hospitals and forcing clinics to meet hospital-like standards for outpatient surgery. Legal analyst Matt Staver says it's another dark day for the future of unborn babies in America.
It's a horrible decision, and it's another horrible chapter in the legacy of this Supreme Court. This Supreme Court has blood written all over it, and the blood is on the hands of these 5 individuals.
The justices ruled 5-3 with Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Chief Justice John Roberts dissenting. A federal judge has ruled that Mississippi clerks cannot cite their own religious beliefs to recuse themselves from issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. The ruling blocks the state from enforcing part of a religious objections bill that was supposed to become law on Friday. Judge Carlton Reeves says circuit clerks are required to provide equal treatment for all couples, homosexual or straight. On Wall Street, again, the Dow down by 261 points, the Nasdaq dropped 114, the S&P lower by 37. More on these stories at townhall.com.
QL1, this is Control, checking in to see how excited you are for launch. Over? Well, actually, Control, I'm kind of bored. I think you cut out, QL1. It sounded like you said you were bored. That's affirmative, Control. You're about to travel 17,000 miles per hour through Earth's atmosphere, and you're bored? It just doesn't sound that exciting after using Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. I was able to get a completely online custom mortgage approval in minutes. All right, you cut out for sure this time. Did you say I can get a mortgage approval in minutes? That's right, Control. Minutes. Whether you're purchasing a new house or refinancing your existing home, Rocket Mortgage securely pulls your pay stubs and bank statements to build you a custom mortgage solution so you get exactly what you want. Wow, that is exciting. Yep, definitely better than months of dehydrated ice cream and powdered orange drink. 3, 2, 1. Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket.
Visit for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Here's the townhall.com business brief.
Wall Street's post-Brexit sell-off hasn't bottomed out just yet. There were more losses for the major indexes today, making for the steepest two-day stock market slide in about 10 months. Standard & Poor's has stripped the UK of its top credit grade in the wake of the country's vote to leave the European Union. The rating agency downgraded the country's sovereign rating by 2 notches and is keeping a negative outlook on the rating. Treasury Secretary Jacob Lew is warning of widespread consequences if the Senate fails to act before Friday on a financial rescue package for Puerto Rico. On Wall Street today, the Dow tumbled 261 points. The blue chips closing at 17,140. The Nasdaq closed down 114 points. The S&P was off 37. With business, I'm Rich Thomason.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Weather. Here's Matt Duncan.
Here's a look at the forecast for Monday night. The skies will be partly cloudy. Temperatures will drop into the lower 60s, so pretty comfortable. We can give the air conditioner a break, and northeast winds will be light around 5 to 10 miles per hour. For Tuesday, sunny skies, a high around 80. Northeast winds 5 to 10. Wednesday, a 20% chance of showers early. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies, and an afternoon high in the upper 70s. That's a look at the forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Duncan.
Steve Dace promises to always give it to you straight.
Remember when we all ripped the left for rooting for a recession under George W. Bush? We called them unpatriotic. But what do we look like when we troll through polling numbers following terrorist attacks? Well, this will be good for us. Are we people of truth or not? If you want me to lie to you, I won't. If that's what it takes to advance in this business, I'll do another business.
The Steve Dace Show, weeknights at 8, right after Larry Alder at 6 on FM 94.5, AM 1420. The Answer. The Clint Bellows Show, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
Saddle up your horses. time around the circle, trying to make it better than the last. I opened up the Bible and I read about me.
I opened up the Bible and I read about me.
And God's grace set me free.
It was Henry Van Dyke, Christian philosopher, who said that self is the only prison that can really bind the soul. Self is the only prison that can bind the soul. Every Christian who is really serious about living the Christ-like life craves freedom from this bondage. The intensity of the struggle which goes on in the hearts of countless Christians gives testimony to the great need for us to learn to let go of our selfish, sinful lives to become the new creations Jesus meant us to be. And of course, one of the books that I have read over the years, and I need to get back in, I'm kind of taking you back with me, is the one that is a collection of letters by a French archbishop by the name of Francois Le Seigneur Mauvais Fenelon. And Fenelon, of course, was the Archbishop of Cambrai during the 17th century. And he had the opportunity of becoming a spiritual advisor at the court of Louis XIV, and who, under Fenelon's wise direction, lived a life of true spirituality in the midst of a court life, which was shamefully immoral. During his association with these people, he had many opportunities to write, encouraging them to press toward the goal of Christian perfection. And he wrote a series of letters. The first one is The Advantages of Humility. I'll read it quickly. I often pray to God that he would keep you in the hollow of his hand. And that he certainly will do if you will remember to keep a humble and obedient spirit. Humility is good in every situation because it produces a teachable spirit which makes everything easy. And you, of all people, would be more guilty than many others if you made any resistance to the Lord on this point. He's talking to me. For on one hand, the Lord has taught you so much on the necessity of becoming like a little child. And on the other, few people have had an experience more fitting to humiliate the heart and destroy self-confidence. The good that comes from any experience of personal weakness is the realization that God wants us to be lowly and obedient. So may the Lord keep you. And of course, that is so contrary to the look at me, Lord, you've got to fulfill all of my dreams. And, I'm really focused, on my own inward situation. And we see this all over the place. And I see it most prominently, but in my own life, of course. I don't want to look at the speck in somebody else's eye, Obama, and miss the log in my own. But I look at the complete lack of humility in public life in this country and these politicians. Folks, we need to be on our knees praying for this situation because it's way long since been out of control. And if you don't believe that, you really need to take a look at reality yourself. What are we going to do to solve these issues? We're going to pray about them largely. We need to act. We need to be out at that park on July 2nd listening to Mark Christian and other leaders who are doing something about it. But when all is said and done, the truth of the matter is in human resources, more is usually said than done. No place is this more true than talk radio, of course, except perhaps in Washington, D.C., where the megaphone in chief gets up and says something vapid and banal and empty every day of his administration. And, of course, he's the guy who put together this deal to give Iran $150 billion and pretty much free reign to go after the enemies of the United States and Israel in the Middle East. And we now find out, Dr. John McTiernan, who wrote As America's Done to Israel, that the primary funder of Hezbollah, which has been a huge problem for the Israelis for a long time, guess who is funding them from behind? Oh, my goodness. It's Iran, sir. What do you think about that?
Well, yes. Hey, listen, hello. I want to say hello to you and all your listeners.
John, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump on you like that. I just...
No, that's okay. But it's amazing, Clint, how fast the week goes.
It really is. We were talking last week about a lot of these things, and
Yeah.
it was a big week, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. Look, you have to give Iran some credit. I mean, they will kind of like tell the truth sometimes, where our politicians, it's never. But Iran was, as soon as they got the money that Obama and Kerry so graciously gave them. Now, I've heard of all conflicting statements. I don't know how much they got, somewhere between $100 and $150 billion and all. They said that they were going to fund terrorism in the West Bank against Israel, and they were going to fund Hamas. They were open about it, Clint.
Yep. And
our administration, they don't care about any. I don't know what's happened. They don't care. Because it's Israel, they could care less.
I fear that that's the case. I have a, people are still talking about did Oswald pop Kennedy from that 6th floor window in Dallas that day in 1963, and that's a big one. But I think that thing pales in comparison to how we end up with this guy in the White House that we've had. Truly, in my view, the Manchurian Candidate. I don't believe he is just some guy that just kind of happened along. Okay, you just don't come from that far outside the game without some kind of outside influence.
Clint, he's the president. Every president. Now, I follow presidential elections for the most part. Every president is super vetted.
Yep.
I can remember stories about Kennedy. They went back to his, second grade teacher, and all of this. You know, virtually every month of their lives or every week of their lives. Tell me, what was Obama doing in Pakistan in whatever year he was there as a student? What was he doing there?
No
he had
idea.
an Indonesian passport,
Yep.
and he went to Pakistan. It was a country that was off limits to Americans. Does anybody know what he did there?
Well, he was known as Barry Swahito in those years.
Yes, Barry Swahito.
And
yes.
I do know that he's had at least a half a dozen Social Security numbers, which is kind of an interesting little sidelight that nobody ever talks about. I do know that if he were a Republican, if he were Donald Trump running for the office today, the vetting on this man would have blown him out of the water 6 months ago or a year ago. Okay.
Right.
So he gets a total pass. Okay.
We want to know about him going at Harvard. We want to know about his professors. We want to see his grades. He went to
Well, he went to Columbia University, and he was in the political science department there. I interviewed a guy on the show a couple of years ago by the name of Wayne Allen Root, who's kind of an interesting cat from Las Vegas, who was in that class. And they had, I don't know, the 25-year reunion of the class. Nobody at the class reunion could remember the guy. They never had a class with him. He did not respond to the class, didn't send them a little electronic greeting or even a card. You would think a president of the United States might take a moment to say hi to his classmates. He didn't do that. He was never there is the point, okay? And
the school there in California is undergraduate school.
Occidental or...
there you go.
Yeah. And
I mean, what about his records there? Well, let's see what courses
they've been sequestered. It's
why? Why?
No, it's and the press goes along with it. It's an insider game, and it's important though because not only has he had an impact, he will continue to have an impact. This guy's only 52 years old. He's an internationalist. There's something waiting for him at the UN or somewhere. It's all up to no good. And the reason I'm so excited about what the British people did on Thursday is because it shows there might still be a glimmer of hope that the control of our fortunes and our futures can be taken back from these internationalists who have the whole thing figured out, and that's a very godless kind of environment we're talking about there, to get right to the nub of it. I got to go to a hard break. When we come back, I'd like to ask you a little bit more about that and about what you think Benjamin Netanyahu is thinking now as he watches the next 4 or 5 months up to this election, what kind of moves he might expect enemies of Israel to make, since you're one of the world's foremost authorities, I think, on America's relationship with Israel. We're with Dr. John P. McTernan, who has written as America Has Done to Israel on the Intersection of Faith and Reason at The Answer, Omaha's Conservative Talk, 94.5, 1420 AM. Back with John in just a moment.
Hugh Hewitt gives you one more reason to vote for Trump.
Think about Hillary Clinton's server. The reason she destroyed it, the reason she wiped it clean, the reason why she tried to keep it from people. Everybody gets this. It was hacked. It was hacked in real time. They've got everything that was on it. Clinton's the real risk. If we want to stop her, we can't dump Trump. You can't have her as president. The Russians own her.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, weekday mornings at 5, right before Mike Gallagher at 8 on FM 94.5, AM 1420. The Answer.
Looking for more than just a job? Searching for a career path with a higher calling? Find a job you can believe in and get excited about at ChristianJobs.com. ChristianJobs.com is the largest Christian employment website with thousands of job listings. They connect devoted people like you with thoughtful employers that share your values. Once you log on and see the quality job opportunities available, you'll never settle for just a job again. Log on to ChristianJobs.com. That's ChristianJobs.com.
Hey everybody, this is Pastor Greg Laurie personally inviting you to join the fun on the 2016 Storytellers Cruise with my friends Matthew West, Selah, and Mr. Talkbox, and more. Hey, you can get spiritually recharged in this week of concerts on the Caribbean and the messages that I'm going to be sharing with you.
For more information or to reserve your cabin, visit theansweromaha.com.
There is only one way to win back the White House, one way to get the country back, one way to make the 8-year nightmare go away. It all starts in Cleveland in July, and finally, it's time to get it started.
Let's get it started.
Join most of the hosts on this station for live coverage from the GOP convention, morning, noon, and night. The biggest story of the year, and it starts and ends right here, beginning July 18th on FM 94.5, AM 1420. The Answer. Clint Bellows, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
And welcome back, folks. We're at the intersection of faith and reason with one of the most reasoned scholars I've had the great opportunity to run across in some time, Dr. John P. McTernan, author of As America Has Done to Israel, and we're living in interesting times. We have seen something happen that I didn't think would happen, and that is not only has Great Britain left, but true to the discord and the total chaos of the world today, John, now the Scots are saying they might not go along with the deal either. They might try to secede again from Great Britain, from the UK. It's if you don't like the rules, just play the game over again. I mean, there's a total lack of respect for law and respect for the outcomes of elections, isn't there?
Well, everything's breaking down. Really, order is breaking down throughout the world. But I want to bring to your attention, because you mentioned, and we're going to get into this about Scotland and Ireland very quickly. Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Great Britain. But on my blog is John McTernan's Insights. I have an article up there, God's Final Judgment on the European Union. And what happened was on June 20th, there was a meeting in France with all the 28 nations of the European Union, and they all agreed that they were going to have a summit in December, regarding Israel. And it was going to be to divide Jerusalem and to divide the land to create a Palestinian state. Now that was June 20th. On June 24th, the European Union was blowing apart at the seams.
Yeah.
And they were trying to divide Israel, and while they were trying to divide Israel, the European Union was being divided. It's amazing. I've got it right. You can see it right with your own eyes. You can see the articles, and this is what I document all the time in my blog, and this is what I documented in my book, As America's Done to Israel. Here they were violating God's word by attempting to divide Jerusalem, and within 4 days, the same week, it took place in the same week, the European Union is turned on its head. Now, here's the thing about Britain. It's weird. I say, Clint, that the Europeans have like Jew hating and Israel hating in their DNA.
Yeah.
You know,
I have seen that. I have seen that, and I've seen it in people that I know in Northern Europe who are very capable, very nice people, a couple of strains intersect there, though. Not only is there anti-Semitism there, I hate to make these broad generalizations, and I'm sure there are millions of great Christians on the continent, but that has become a very dark place to be from a spiritual point of view.
It has. It has. So here, Great Britain has been very forceful, and its history, it's been very forceful against Israel. And it's part of the EU wanting to divide, well, at this point, up to this vote, part of the EU wanting to divide Jerusalem. There's tremendous anti-Israel sentiments in Great Britain. And I don't know if you know this, Clint, or not, but in solidarity with the Palestinians, they flew the Palestinian flag over the Edinburgh in Scotland there, the capital of Scotland. I've got pictures of it on my blog. In sympathy and in empathy with the Palestinians, they flew this flag over the capital of Scotland.
Yeah, it's...
So now you've got Scotland, the decision wasn't hardly even made, and Scotland wants out. They want to join the European Union, and Northern Ireland wants to join Southern Ireland now. They're going to take a referendum to join Southern Ireland so that they can be part of the European Union. So right in front of our eyes, United Kingdom, which is Wales, England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, is being divided up, which they want to do to Israel. So
well,
the whole political landscape is like it's like a 10 mega power earthquake, political earthquake, economic earthquake just hit Europe.
Yeah, and
maybe the world.
And the sad part is that there's still a lot of people in this country that they don't even know what happened. They could care less. They're just basically living their own program out, and it's kind of one of those things. Three kinds of people in the world: making things happen, watching things happen, and those who are saying what happened. And I'm afraid that a lot of the what happens are going to be casting votes for president in our election in November as well. We've got a Travis on the line, John, who's one of our very highly integrated callers. Bright guy, always has a take. Travis, thanks for the call.
Hey, Mr. Bellows. Hey, John. How y'all doing today?
Yeah, hello, Travis.
John, I got a question. It might be a little bit of a rabbit trail. Have you ever read Hank Hanegraaff's Apocalypse Code? He mentions something about a general after World War II from Britain who fell into the theory of John Nelson Darby's tribulation and rapture. And he was so enamored with it that he was a big push for Israel or Israelites to get their own country back, and was a big promoter of them going back to their own country in hopes that this would happen for the second coming of Christ.
Well, you're talking about, are you talking about the Bible Answer Man, Pendergrass? Is that the guy we're talking about? Sure. And,
so when you say anti-Semitic, I'm just wondering if this kind of feeds into this. Is this something that they wanted to do to get the Jews back there, to get this rolling? Kind of like these Muslims who think if they can get the apocalypse going, their Mahdi or something's going to come back. I just didn't know if you guys had any take on that or not.
Well, John, I understand that there has been a mass immigration back to Israel among Jewish people from around the world, particularly Western Europe. Am I well informed there, or is that mythology?
No, you're well informed. I mean, after World War II, first of all, from North Africa and that area, there was approximately 1 million Jews that came back. In fact, they were driven out by the Arabs. And then from after World War II, a remnant of the Jews that were alive, they came back, and that was the nucleus for Israel. And yes, there was a definite Christian influence in the modern creation of Israel.
I just feel like it's kind of weird that a Christian guy would think, hey, let's get all the Jews back there so we can get this war going to get the coming of Christ. And it just kind of shakes my head since John Nelson Darby's thing is a theory.
What war going?
The end time war.
We're talking about
that war. Yeah.
That John Nelson Darby they're talking about, getting all the Jews back there and getting this thing going.
John Nelson Darby was 1850.
I'll tell you something. This is another issue, if you don't mind.
But that's what he read into that.
Yeah. Well, look, one of the ironies to me in this day and age that we are in, and it's not a surprise, American Jews are not friends of Israel by and large. They fund some parts of the Israeli needs, but the American left, the Jewish religion in this country among the secular Jews is not Judaism. It's liberal progressivism.
Yeah.
And don't you agree with me on that, John?
Oh, absolutely.
And the truth of the matter is they contribute a lot less support of any kind than American charismatics and evangelical Christians do.
Yeah.
There's some irony there.
Yeah. I just think it's weird that Darby's little theory that a general from World War II picked up on this and started the push to get the Jews back there just seems
I just told you Darby was from 1850.
Yeah, but he picked up on Darby's concept. That's what I'm saying.
Now, listen. First of all, I really don't like Hanegraaff. Second of all, you've got World War I, you've got World War II. Do you think this is
I've got to go. My producer's sending me to World War III. John, can you stay over for a couple minutes after the break?
Sure.
And Travis, thank you so much again for the great question again today.
Have a good one. Blessings,
All
gentlemen.
the best. It's 5:27. We'll be back at 5:30.
Mike Gallagher is looking for a united GOP to take on Hillary.
If Paul Ryan, if all these squishy, timid Republicans, the NRA, some fair-minded media types, if any of those factions would be in Donald Trump's corner, maybe he'd be up by 10 points right now. Who knows? Who knows? Democrats have no trouble uniting.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekday mornings at 8, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on FM 94.5, AM 1420. The Answer. Larry Elder wants the president to answer one question about his view on guns.
Just one time when Obama holds a press conference after a shooting and talks about the need for further gun control laws. Just one time. I'd like some reporter to raise his or her hand and say, Mr. President, do you have any idea how many lives are saved because people were able to get a firearm and prevent an attack?
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 6, right before Steve Dace at 8 on 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
Pass the salt, would you please, Sharon? Sure, here you go. I've been meaning to ask you something. Since John and I moved into the neighborhood, we need to find the best places for household repairs and maintenance, where to eat, and where to find a good church. You know, all the normal necessities of life.
I know exactly what you mean. The first place I go when I need any of those things is thefamilymarketplace.com. They have quite a few options. And all the businesses, ministries, and churches are clients of our local Christian radio station, so we can trust their quality.
Thefamilymarketplace.com. I'll definitely check it out when I get home. Thanks.
As a safe place to shop, volunteer, and worship, thefamilymarketplace.com provides you with a variety of options to help you find those organizations you can trust. Next time you need a referral for a company to help you, think thefamilymarketplace.com. That's thefamilymarketplace.com. The safe place to shop, volunteer, and worship.
Michael Medved wants more class from our elected officials.
You can't control the event. It happened. It's horrible. It's bloody. It's nightmarish. It's evil. It is all those things. But does the response to it have to be so stupid by our most prominent politicians? I mean, does President Obama have to take advantage of this occasion to just rip Donald Trump?
The Michael Medved Show, afternoons at 2, right before Clint Bellows at 4. On 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Dennis Prager has an argument for the never-Trumpers.
The Democratic Party now is so left. Hillary Clinton has moved so left. That 4 more years of left-wing domination of this country has put us on a course, or we're already on the course of a true abandonment of what America stood for. America is an idea. It is not a geographical entity.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Michael Medved at 2 on FM 94.5, AM 1420. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. British Prime Minister David Cameron is insisting the United Kingdom's shocking decision to leave the European Union won't tank his country's economy. But the ripple effects continue globally. Standard & Poor's has stripped Britain's top credit rating. Stock markets and the pound continue a downward spiral. Planned Parenthood is cheering today's Supreme Court 5-3 ruling throwing out Texas's abortion clinic regulations. Justices Anthony Kennedy, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan joined Justice Stephen Breyer, who wrote the opinion. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas dissented. A federal judge is ruling that county clerks in Mississippi cannot cite religious beliefs to refuse issuing marriage licenses to homosexual couples. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 261 points. This is SRNU.
94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Weather. Here's Matt Duncan.
Here's a look at the forecast for Monday night. The skies will be partly cloudy. Temperatures will drop into the lower 60s, so pretty comfortable. We can give the air conditioner a break, and northeast winds will be light around 5 to 10 miles per hour. For Tuesday, sunny skies, a high around 80. Northeast winds 5 to 10. Wednesday, a 20% chance of showers early, otherwise partly cloudy skies, and an afternoon high in the upper 70s. That's a look at the forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Duncan.
The Clint Bellows Show. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
Met her in a club down in Old Soho, where you drink champagne and it tastes just like cherry cola. Signore Cola. She walked up to me and she asked me to dance. I asked her her name, and in a dark brown voice she said Lola. Hello, hello, Lola. La 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 Lola.
Of course, that would be the great 60s, 70s rock band, the Kinks, and play that song because that song was once satire. It's now fact. It's a crazy, mixed up, screwed up world, but so is Lola. So is the American press as they came out. And, of course, we saw what the future is going to look like, by the way, folks, if Hillary Clinton is elected in November. We just saw Texas try to exercise its state rights over its own abortion issues down there, and the Supreme Court told them no, they couldn't do it. Of course, you've got the Kagans, the Gator Ginsburg, or Bader Ginsburg, or Gator Binsburg, whatever her name is, Stephen Breyer, Elizabeth Kagan. You've got enough libs on the court now that want to write law, and they've told Texas, nope, you can't do what you want to do. So if that's the way, folks, you want to see this thing play, and unfortunately millions of people that really aren't thinking with their head caps on, believe that, then you've seen the future of the Supreme Court, and with Hillary Clinton, you saw it today. We're joined by John McTiernan, and for one more small segment here, just because we got caught up on some other things, but and of course, the irony, John, is that Obama got clobbered in the court last week with his immigration overstep that he tried to do with executive action. Then he got clobbered in the court of world opinion, when after he went over and lectured the Brits on the fact they needed to stay in the European Union, they immediately left. He and Hillary don't come out looking very well on that. But of course now he comes back, and the tactic of the left is to never defend the intellectual arguments for its cases. It just goes on the attack. And so Obama accuses Trump and the GOP of spreading hate, not only in this country now, but around the world. And, he comes out as, my gosh, Trump's spreading hate and bigotry. But whatever our differences, we all love this country, and we care fiercely about our children's futures, Obama said, according to a transcript. And we don't have time for charlatans. We don't have time for hatred. We don't have time for bigotry. We don't have time for flim-flam. Oh, my gosh. This is what they do. They take their exact snapshot, a photograph of them, cast it in a bad light, and throw it at the other guy, John McTiernan.
Well, whatever Obama attacks, that's the way he is. And what's very interesting, I found out, which is, of course, is right out of Saul Alinsky's playbook. Whatever he says, you take 180 degrees off, and I've never been wrong. So if he says this bill is going to lower the deficit, just make sure it's going to increase it. If he says this bill will help trade, not for America, and this bill will increase jobs. No, it's going to, you're going to lose jobs.
If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
There you go. Your premiums are all everybody's going to save $2,500 and keep your doctor.
But here's the thing that's scary about it. There was at least one public opinion poll that had this clown at 56% approval. Last week, 56% of Americans said, yeah, he's doing a good job, okay? It's astonishing to me. And someone said it's not the fact that we have elected Barack Obama or that we might elect Hillary Clinton. That's not the problem. The problem is we have that many people out there that would fall for this kind of stuff and would pull the trigger to elect those caliber of people. And I really think, I don't know whether you blame it on a movement away from God, a movement in the public schools away from anything that's relevant to teaching the story of this country. I don't know what it all adds up to, but we've evolved to a place now when you go up on the street with one of these what's his name, Jesse Waters or Jay Leno or whoever might be doing it, and you interview people on the street, it's astonishing how stupid they are.
It really is. And I've seen them on college campuses, and the dumb as stumps. It's sad. It's frightening. Because with people that dumb, you can easily manipulate them.
Well, and the sheeple, as we call them. So I had asked a question I didn't give you a chance to answer. What does Netanyahu and Israel, do they anticipate any overt outside-the-box stuff going on here in the next 4 months leading up to this election, October surprises or anything they might be able to do to improve Hillary's position?
It just so happens that Kerry is in Israel right now because apparently, I'm not sure if the United States is releasing it, or the UN is releasing it, or the European is releasing it, European Union, but there's supposed to be some scathing attack on Israel, and he was there, and Netanyahu's not happy about it, and he was there trying to smooth things over. And of course, the European Union has scheduled this meeting. Now, I don't know if the European Union will be in existence in December, but they want to divide Israel and Jerusalem. So, yeah, it never goes away. There's always something going on about Israel, dividing Jerusalem and dividing the country.
Oh yeah, it's nonstop. And I mean, I think the other overlay that you've got there now, of course, is that the next big peg that might fall, the next domino to go, might be France in the European community, and they're talking actively about moving out. And the bottom line on that is, of course, these things are not unrelated to each other. And one of the things that may very well happen, one of the big winners, the big loser on this, of course, in addition to the European Union and Brussels, has to be Barack Obama and possibly Hillary Clinton. But the big winner geopolitically in that part of the world might very well be Vladimir Putin, mightn't it?
I agree with you. Putin said today that the European Union is breaking up like the old Soviet Union did. And he's sitting there with just about his entire army pointed west. They're all lined up in Ukraine and facing Poland and
I don't think he's too afraid of Angela Merkel. I don't think she scares him too much.
No. So I would agree with you that Putin is a big winner on this. But Europe is in big trouble. France is in big trouble. Now, we're not getting many. First of all, France has the largest Muslim population in Europe. They're actively calling Paris now Paristan.
Yep.
I've
seen that. I did a lot of business over there in the late 1990s, early 2000s. I remember being in Paris in 2003 and watching cars being set on fire in Sharia neighborhoods.
That's regular occurrence.
And I said, this cannot be a good trend. And they were telling the French police, stay out of these neighborhoods. And the French were doing as they were told at that time. It was a little country within a country.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of violence taking place in France now. There's been a lot of labor turmoil. The French people are very afraid because of the terrorism that they've had. There's very little press on this, but the French raided numbers of mosques in France and founded every weapon you could think of was there, short of a nuclear weapon.
Yeah,
I mean, they had RPGs, machine guns, every type of rifle.
They also have a great deal of gun control over there. That really.
Well, that's the ironic thing.
It really helped them when they needed.
Bazaar.
Yeah.
It was like a gun. It was like a gun bazaar in Paris and in Brussels, where you could go into certain areas in the Muslim areas and buy anything you wanted.
By the way, just on the issue of gun control, before I let you go, we had a little sit-in with Democrats in the Congress last week about gun control. But here is a list of people who own guns in the Congress: Ann Kirkpatrick, Benny Thompson, Dina Titus, Dutch Rappensbuger, Jared Hoffman, Jim Cooper, Jim Costa, John Carney, John Garamendi, Keith Ellison, Mike Thomas, Peter Fazio, Peter Welsh, Rick Nolan, Ron Kine, Stephen Cohen, Tim Ryan, Gary Peters, the Dirty Harry Reid, Mark Weiner, Martin Heinrich, Senator Patrick Leahy, and Senator Selden Whitehouse, Tammy Baldwin, Tim Kaine, who may very well be Hillary's vice presidential choice, and Senator Tom Carper from Maryland. All of those people own guns, and they protested the right of other Americans to get them.
They're the elitists.
So more hypocrisy from the world of Washington, D.C. John?
I'm going to give you, if I got a minute, a little bit of trivia before you go.
Fire away.
What was the immediate, not the general, what was the immediate cause of the American Revolution?
Well, it was not the Boston Tea Party.
No, that was later.
I don't know.
The revolution was later.
My ignorance is showing. Go ahead.
Okay. When the British marched on Lexington and Concord, they were trying to confiscate the guns.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. That's what they were. They were going to arrest, like, Samuel and John Adams, and there was all sorts of gun supplies and ammo and all. They were going to seize the guns from the militia of the Boston militia, the Massachusetts militia.
Yeah, and see, these stories don't. I mean, I should know that, and frankly, did
I've
not.
had people flat out yell, the gun people, gun control people. That's not true. I mean, they scream, they get foam around their mouth when I tell them that. And I said, look, the way you're going, you push hard enough, the second American Revolution may be over guns too.
My advertisers are going to have me over a barrel here in a moment. I really appreciate you being on the show today, John. Thank you for that.
God bless you.
Thanks for that insight. That's
and all your listeners.
Dr. John McTiernan, author of As American Has Done to Israel. We'll see him soon. Time is 5:43, and we will be back to talk about Hillary, Donald Trump, and some other items of great importance here at Omaha's The Answer, 94.5, 1420 AM, Conservative Talk. Clint Bellows, back in a moment.
Foster parents are good people.
Foster care benefited me in a lot of ways. It opened up my eyes to see where I wanted to go to in the future. Someone that I barely knew was opening her arms and her home to me. That was when I knew there are good people out there.
Foster parents are needed all across Nebraska. Please call 1-800-7-PARENT. Open your heart and home to a child today. Sponsored by the Department of Health and Human Services and narrated cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
It's been called the greatest libertarian show on earth, attended by Donald Trump, Steve Forbes, Glenn Beck, and the most brilliant conservative minds today. It's Freedom Fest, July 13th through the 16th at the Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. This year, come hear Senator Rand Paul, author George Gilder, Judge Andrew Napolitano, and more. And don't miss your chance to win $25,000 in prizes organized by Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington. Register now at freedomfest.com and save $100 by using the code SALEM, all caps, at freedomfest.com.
If you've ever wanted to see for yourself the sights of the early Christian church, here is an exciting trip. This is Alistair Begg inviting you to join me this fall on the footsteps of the Apostles' Mediterranean cruise. Beautiful accommodations and an opportunity to encounter together the sights of the early church. Stops in Rome, Jerusalem, Athens, and so much more. Plan on joining us.
For more information or to reserve your cabin, visit theansweromaha.com.
You are conservative and not ashamed of it. So why are the other radio stations in town ashamed to be conservative? Good question. We have the answer. The all-new FM 94.5 and 1420 AM. The Answer. Do you have conservative friends? Some friends you wish were conservative? We made finding The Answer in Omaha easy. If they like FM radio, we're there at 94.5. If they like AM radio, we're there too at 1420. Email your friend our website, theansweromaha.com. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. The Clint Bellows Show. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
just to hold her in my arms again one more time. If I could feel her warm embrace, see her smiling face, can't find anyone to take her place. I've got to see her again. I would do anything.
And she would, baby. She'd do anything, go anywhere, make a fast, cheap, dishonest buck. These people are grifters. What do we call this segment?
And now for today's edition of Keeping Up with the Clintons.
And you know, we determined about a month ago, Braden and I, that we could identify at least 125 specific incidents where the Clintons did something that they shouldn't have done, and we know about these things. These are just the ones we know about. Of course, they're so good at it that there are probably another couple of hundred that we don't even know anything about. It's a treasure trove of grifting graft is what it amounts to. It may involve dead people. Certainly a lot of people that have been around them over the last 30 or so years have met with actuatorial premature lack of existence. You might say they died early, okay? I don't know. What could that mean? How many guys have an office in the old executive office building just west of the White House, the North Lawn, the West Wing, and they go out in a very happy mood one afternoon and end up with a bullet in their head in a park in Virginia a few miles away? That would, of course, be Vince Foster. That one's too easy. We know he didn't kill himself. And when you just start with that premise, you start with Whitewater, you start with some of the other, and so far I think we've done about 20 of these. It's a treasure trove, but it's also kind of depressing me. And if you don't want me to do these anymore, just call and I'll come up with something else to do. But I can do 5 of these a day. There's that much there, okay? I'm sitting here, I am basically looking at more data on more different ways these people have cheated you, they've stolen money, and they've contributed to so many things that have really brought this country to its knees, okay? And, you know, the bottom line on this whole Benghazi thing, for example, is really starting to, again, raise its ugly head because, you know, she was the one who said, what difference does it make, okay? And we now have seen that, in fact, and that's just one glaring and terrible example, but there has been so much out there that continues to flow out on that. I don't see how these people continue to be able to put out these fires. I don't know how she sleeps at night. I guess probably pretty soundly. You know, it's a completely uncredible, dysfunctional, dishonest, amoral couple that we're talking about here. You want them again for another 8 years? And yet many of you do. And I look at these rallies, I see these little, you know, press things where she trots out on the stage and her singular unimpressiveness. And all she does really is attack Donald Trump. You'll notice she really doesn't have a plan for anything other than to say, I'm for you. I've been sticking up for women for 40 years. Well, I would think after 40 years, they'd have been stuck up for by now, okay? I would like somebody, the number is 402-498-5685. That's 402-498-KOTK. And I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here. I would just like to know. It would make me feel like maybe she is experienced. But as Newt Gingrich said yesterday on one of the talk shows, what's she experienced at? What? Give us a victory. Tell us something she accomplished. As Carly Fiorina said famously during the primary campaign, flying around on an Air Force government jet is not an accomplishment. It is merely an activity. You have to actually accomplish something once you arrive wherever it is you happen to get. And But here's the thing that this is what discourages me. I look at what's prodded out there as the latest on this race. And, the Washington Post poll has her up 12 points on Trump right now. Well, that poll is stilted for a variety of reasons that I won't bore you with. But across the board, if you look at the Real Clear Politics average, the polls of polls, she's riding about a 5-point lead on this guy. Now, he should get a bump coming out of his convention, but maybe not. Because what you have out there is you have people like Michael Medved, who I respect. He's a colleague here at Salem. He's been a long-time First Cabin talk show host for many, many years, bright guy. But I want to know, Michael, what is it that will advance the interests of conservatism? What will advance the interests of American exceptionalism? What do you intend to accomplish, Mike Medved, by bringing down Donald Trump? What's the outcome of that? Just to look ahead a little bit, my friend. And then, of course, we had the specter of George Will, who I've never thought was much of a conservative. I didn't like him when he was sucking up to Nancy Reagan, okay? He's a sycophant. He was on ABC with George Stephanopoulos for about 15 years until they booted him off of there. Fox took him on, okay? Now he's over there. He was on the Sunday show yesterday talking about that he just can't be a Republican anymore because of the fact that Trump had the audacity to speak out against a Hispanic a judge who may be treating him, in Trump's view, somewhat unfairly on this Trump University civil lawsuit case in Indiana. Oh, my gosh. That's a reason to bolt the party. These people, this is an easy one, okay? The class thing to have done would have been to just, if you're going to become an independent, George, just become an independent, okay? You're not that important to anybody. I don't frankly even know why I'm bringing it up. Charles Krauthammer just looked at you like, what in the world are you doing, okay? I want to know, with you so-called conservatives, some of which are on this network, what happens with Hillary. You saw it today. You saw it with the United States Supreme Court. That's the future. We don't elect Trump. We don't put a conservative on the United States Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has the power, folks, as I know you know. You don't need me to tell you this. That's where the real change, that's where the real legislation is going to get passed in this country. The Congress can't get anything done. But you can pass a law, and you can change everything. Just like when John Roberts, somebody must have paid him something to call Obamacare a tax, thereby giving the federal government the right to dictate to you where your health insurance needs to be purchased. What a joke, John Roberts. What a traitor to the cause. Call it a tax. Make it part of the Commerce Clause and make it something that is constitutionally doable. Talk about, hedging your bet and using a technicality on an issue of tremendous impact. John Roberts, shame on you. But the bottom line now is I'm looking at so much stuff with the Clintons. Here's one. I'll just do this one today because we're kind of running out of time. But I don't know if you know this, but Bill Clinton is so good at pardoning people. I got a list of about 25 people here who he pardoned that were dead. Okay? Talk about keeping up. Just an example of a few people he didn't have to pardon. James McDougal of Whitewater fame, Mary Mahoney, who was a White House intern who had apparently some kind of a relationship with Clinton. They found her murdered in July 97 at a Starbucks coffee shop in Georgetown. The murder happened just after she was to go public with a story of sexual harassment in the Oval Office at the White House. Who works at the Oval Office in the White House? We talked about Vince Foster. Ron Brown, we've talked about him before. Reported to have died by impact in a plane crash. A pathologist close to the investigation reported there was a hole in the top of Brown's skull resembling a gunshot wound. At the time of his death, Brown was being investigated and spoke publicly of his willingness to cut a deal with prosecutors. C. Victor Reiser and Montgomery Reiser, major players in their fundraising organization, supposedly had given them money illegally, mysteriously died in the crash of a private plane, July 1992. Do you want me to go on? Ed Willie, Clinton fundraiser, found dead in 93, deep in the woods of Virginia of a gunshot wound to the head, ruled a suicide. He died on the same day. His wife, Kathleen Willie, claimed Bill Clinton groped her in the Oval Office at the White House. Of course, he was a key Clinton fundraiser. I can go on and on and on and on and on. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm just trying to pick out a couple more that are just completely ridiculous, okay? You know, the truth of the matter is, how about this guy, Barry Seal? Was a drug-running pilot out of Mena, Arkansas. Arkansas ring a bell with you? Death was no accident. John Lawhorn, Jr., mechanic, found a check made out to Bill Clinton in the trunk of a car left at his repair shop. He was found dead after the car hit a utility pole. And it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on, okay? Barbara Weiss, Commerce Secretary staffer, worked closely with Ron Brown and Johnny Wang, who I got to know in California. Cause of death unknown. Died November 29, 1996, right in the middle of the Clinton term. Her bruised nude body, was found locked in her office at the Department of Congress. I don't know. It's just the actuarial numbers on these things, folks, are staggering. These are murders. These are crimes. You draw your own conclusions. Is it just coincidental? I don't know. Yet today's Washington Post poll that came out yesterday actually finds Mr. Trump down 12 points. I think Americans are on a kamikaze mission. I think they have a death wish. And that's unfortunate for those of us who don't want to ride that same plane, okay? We've seen enough. And I'm not talking only in partisan terms. I think George Bush was an idiot, okay? I think his going into Iraq and destabilizing the Saddam Hussein administration regime, as bad as it was, can you tell me one good thing that's come out of that? One, folks. Tell me one positive outcome that Bush's involvement in Iraq has brought this country. Trillions in debt, thousands of kids killed and maimed. The Middle East is out of control. There are Muslim refugees spilling out of Iraq and Syria into Israel, into Europe, into the United States. It's all good, isn't it? Anyway, the time's 5:59. I've got one further thing. We said what we were going to do here on The Answer, the Clint Bellows show, is we'd start trying to act as a part-time political consultant to Donald Trump because clearly he needs one, okay? And one of the things I talked about the other day was not to get off point, not to get distracted, go down all these bunny trails, all right? You have said you're going to do something about this border. You've been told you're going to take an awful lot of political heat for it, but I'll tell you what, if you stood up and you actually showed a specific plan, I think you'd get a lot of buzz going into the election. I say find the 50 biggest contractors in the United States most able to do the job, including Keywood of Omaha, Nebraska. Have them bid on building part of that wall. Let's get started. What do you say? Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. A little cooler tonight. Go Arizona in the College World Series for Braden Larson. I'm Clint Bellows.
94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. KOTK, Omaha. A division of Salem Media Group on the NASDAQ as SALM.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. A federal judge has ruled that Mississippi clerks cannot cite their own religious beliefs to recuse themselves from issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples.
U.S. District Judge Carlton Reeves has issued a ruling that blocks the state from enforcing part of a religious objections bill that was supposed to become law Friday. Judge Reeves is extending his previous order that overturned Mississippi's ban on so-called same-sex marriage Mississippi's religious objections measure was filed in response to last summer's U.S. Supreme Court ruling that legalized so-called homosexual marriage nationwide. Dennis Crowley reporting.
The Supreme Court dealt a big blow to the pro-life movement by throwing out a Texas law mandating abortion clinics have the same clean standards as hospitals. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says it's hard to believe the Supreme Court struck down a law aimed at helping women.
This is a devastating blow to women's safety and health. Now, in the Texas Senate, we will revisit this issue, but we will continue to focus on women's health and safety.
Justices Anthony Kennedy, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan joined Justice Stephen Breyer, who wrote the opinion. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas dissented, with Thomas writing, quote, "The court has simultaneously transformed judicially created rights like the right to abortion into preferred constitutional rights." Fitch Ratings has downgraded the United Kingdom's credit rating by one notch following the move by the British people to leave the European Union. The move to AA from AA+ follows the decision earlier Monday evening by Standard & Poor's to drop the country's sovereign rating by two notches to AA from AAA. British Prime Minister David